Now, OK, the big news story of the day. Reform UK has vowed to crack down on illegal migration. That's during a press conference in Westminster earlier on today, pledging to jail company bosses who use or employ migrant labour. Let's have to listen to what Zia Youssef had to say.
We will introduce the toughest penalties in the world for those who employ and profit from illegal migrants. We'll restore order to our high streets, protect the integrity of our border and return fairness to the British economy. We will stand up for British workers.
Sounds like it makes perfect sense, but does it? Does it? So let's have a heated debate, shall we? We're joined by human rights lawyer Shaoib Khan and independent journalist Jack Hadfield. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on a party day. Unfortunately, you're not having a party, you're having a debate. Now, we've listened to Zia Youssef today, what he had to say. It's called the Deliveroo law. Other delivery companies are available, obviously. Let's come to you first, Shaoib. What do you make of what you heard Zia Youssef say today? Is it going to help?
Hi. I mean, firstly, I think it is, usually a bit funny or strange to see so many of us, myself included, media, politicians, other jumping on anything reform says. I mean, once you consider, they have about 1% of seats in Parliament. And Zia Youssef, I mean, as far as I know, he's never even fought an election ever, leave alone win one. He's just a shadow Home Secretary, a title he gave himself. But having said that, I mean, obviously coming to the content of the policy, and most of what he's saying we can already jail employers, and that has already happened. The fines we already can impose maximum of £60,000. So for vast majority of businesses, that is more than 10% of their annual turnover or the annual revenue, as he's saying. So I mean, I'm not sure what changes he's basically going to make, unless obviously in reform leaders' worlds, every small business, every business makes millions of pounds, and therefore they think 60,000 isn't much of a deterrent. But we have all these, and not just we have these on the books, but this is actually happening. We've seen bosses go to jail, and we have seen huge fines being imposed on very, very small businesses. One thing that might make a difference, unless obviously the plan is we generally just want to see Turkish barbers or Asian corner shop owners locked up. If the whole point is we want to stop this, then yes, then we want it to be a deterrent. And for that, yes, why don't they go after the Uber or Deliveroo companies? Then fine. I mean, then I might think, yes, it's making a difference. Fine. Once I see some, the Uber directors jailed for what we know is happening with the delivery drivers, then yes, it might be making a difference. But other than that, I mean, I don't see what difference it's going to make.
OK, Jack, what did you make of it?
Well, I think it's exactly what we needed, quite frankly. I think, you just said that quite rightly there, Shaoib, is that, we do actually need to throw people in jail who are basically have their entire company operating on a system of hiring illegal workers like Uber Eats, like Deliveroo. If they continue to allow them to exist on their platform and allow them to therefore gain money to live and operate and function in Britain. But it's actually just more than the headline here. What they're also doing, they're going further into the illegal migrant economy. For example, with the vape shop license restrictions that they've also announced along with this. We've seen basically cash businesses flourish since the pandemic, and actually, pubs have closed, restaurants have closed. Actual real small and medium enterprises have been really suffering in Britain, while our high streets are being flooded with vape shops, candy shops, all the like, where there's obviously allegations of obviously, not just hiring illegal workers, but money laundering, links back to organised crime. So I think this is the real point of this, is that, yes, we obviously have to control the border, and obviously Reform have announced a plan to do that with Operation Fortress, but we have to paraphrase a famous phrase here, not just be tough on the cause, not to be tough on illegal migration, but tough on the causes of illegal migration. Obviously, having a big cash economy where illegal migrants can work is a huge pull factor.
OK, Shaoib, we do have over 1 million young people in this country who aren't working, they're not in education, they're not in training. So surely if we free up some of these jobs, we could gainfully employ those young people and give them some sense of purpose in life as well, rather than having, in many cases, illegal migrants doing them.
Yeah, no, but I mean, do you honestly think, or do you know any, or have you ever heard of any, young people in Britain so desperate to be delivery drivers, but they just can't because Deliveroo insists on recruiting or hiring foreign workers? I just don't think that makes any sense at any level for any reason. Do you think that's genuinely Uber Eats, Deliveroo? That's what they do. White people go to them and they say, look, we're desperate for a job. Please, can we, I've got a scooter. Can I please become a deliverer? And they say, no, we want illegal migrants only. Oh, you've got a British passport. We don't want you. Of course, that's not what's happening. And I mean, I just don't understand what we say. Obviously, on the one hand, we say this, then obviously we saw the scandal yesterday about, why are all these non-white doctors and nurses and medics in hospitals? So the point is, if there are white doctors out there, then do we think genuinely you apply to the NHS and the NHS says, no, we don't want white doctors, we'd rather go for an Asian or an African.
Sorry, we are running out of time. Just very quickly, Shaoib, I get the impression you think there's some kind of racist element to that. Is that what you seem to be saying with a lot of this? You mentioned Asian corner shops and sort of like migrant doctors.
Of course there is, because that's what they keep saying. They're not talking just about employees. What they keep saying is Turkish barbers and Vape shops, and we know what you mean by that. Everyone understands. Oh, why can't you just say any money laundering front? Why do we have to revert to Turkish barbers? We know what they're saying. So, of course, it's racist. And that's my point, that obviously if we had seen white bosses or white company directors, any white company directors, in jail...
Sorry, we are running out of time. I could talk to you both all day. It's fascinating. Just quickly, a final response, Jack. I mean, is there an element of racism in this policy?
No, it's absolutely not. It's just the fact that the obvious money laundering we see on the streets is in Turkish barbers, where I think there was a case where a village where they had like tiny little village where there were 10 Turkish barber shops, obviously all in one go. This is not an element of racism. It's just like, this is where we are seeing the obvious criminality on our streets. The thing with the doctors is like, you do realize that people who are trained in this country actually can't, the government says, no, we can't give you a job because there's not enough spaces, and they'll hire people from overseas. So actually, you're exactly wrong on that. There is no element of racism here. It's just like, this is the criminality the British people see every day on our streets, and we should be cracking down on that rather than imagined things that you're making up. OK, Jack and Shaoib, thank you so much for joining us. That's human rights lawyer Shaoib Khan there, and independent journalist Jack Hadfield. Thank you so much for joining us on that. OK, now a Deliveroo spokesperson has said illegal working should absolutely be addressed, and that's why we've led the industry in cracking down on the sophisticated, organised criminals who attempt to abuse our platform. We run right-to-work checks on all our riders, conduct multiple daily identity checks and use cutting-edge fraud detection technology. Meanwhile, a Home Office spokesperson has said we are already closing the loopholes that allow illegal migrants to work in the UK by extending right-to-work checks on the gig economy and delivery sector. Employers who break the law face severe consequences, including fines up to £60,000 per illegal worker, business closures, licence revocations and prison sentences up to 5 years.